I am Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. And I have a great guest. You're going to enjoy him, Joseph Citro. Pleased to have you on the show.
Bill, thank you very much for inviting me on your show. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your service to our country and also all the help that you've been putting in with our service military personnel, the men and women who have served our country. I thank you for that.
That's my pleasure. I mean, really, it's at this point in life, it's nice to be able to just go do something for somebody else.
Right. Well,
but you're doing something for people right now as the commissioner or councilman at large here in Tampa.
That's right. I am Tampa City Council District 1. My district is all of Tampa, not just one certain area. We have 7 councilmen, 4 of which are north, south, east, west districts, and we have 3 at large. I was lucky to be elected as a at-large citywide council person.
What made you do it?
What
made you do this? Because you've got no private time anymore at all.
I never really did. I spent 16 years honing my skills with the Civil Service Board first. Then I moved on to magistrate for code enforcement.
Really?
Then I went on to variance reviewer.
That's a rat's nest.
Well, no, not really.
That's hard.
It's much like council. You're trying to do the best for everybody concerned, keep everybody happy and keep our city running smoothly with code and ordinances. No, it's not that bad. It's
if the state would get out of it and let the county and city
we'll talk about preemption. We'll talk about preemption later. The code enforcement is the last person you want to see at your door, but the first person you're going to call when something is
right.
something's wrong in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And then what really drove home my want to be my education for the city of Tampa was when I was on the Charter Review Commission.
Yes, that would be very important to know.
And the charter had not been reviewed since 1975. And the ironic thing about it is 3 members of that commission, Bill Carlson, Orlando Gooch, and myself, are now on council.
Well, it gave you the inner workings of it.
That it did. So after honing my skills with those boards, committees, and commissions, I knew I wanted to be on council. Now, it took me 4 attempts to get there, but I finally got voted in. See this red spot on my head? It was, banging my head against the wall. But no, I found it to be very fulfilling so far, and with luck, I'll be, the people will like what I'm doing and hopefully get reelected.
Sort of like that old song, High Hopes. What makes that ant thinks he can move a rubber tree plant? Well,
yes,
you did it.
Or a little engine that could, yeah.
What is your background in education? You were telling me some interesting things about who you are and where you came from.
I went to 36 different schools from kindergarten to high school. I graduated here in Leto High School, go Falcons. My father was a mechanical engineer, and he had government clearance during the height of the Vietnam War. So we moved around quite extensively. He worked for Dow, DuPont, Pratt Whitney, McDonnell Douglas, NASA. So,
all the big names.
All the big names, yes. So I got to travel around this country, but I came here in Tampa in 1974. And my family said, we're going to go back to Chicago. There's things we need to do there. And I said, bye. I love it here.
It's cold in Chicago.
I like going back to taking a Cubs game, and I just was back Labor Day. But Tampa's my home, and I knew right then and there this is where I wanted to spend my life, was in Tampa.
What kind of work do you do besides city council? Because that's not a full-time job. Excuse me, that is a full-time job, but they don't pay you full-time for it.
No, I put in my 40 hours a week with Tampa City Council. Matter of fact, I was just there before I came to your show here. I'm a hairstylist and have been a hairstylist for 40 years.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. That's what pays my bills. And that is now a place where I go to get away from it all. I can use my artistic abilities and get lost in some women's hair. And
do you have a shop? Obviously, you have a shop somewhere.
Northeast corner of Cypress and Himes. And I've been there for about 1.5 years now.
Going back to the city of Tampa, what do you see right now as the most pressing problems from a whole city standpoint? Usually I have somebody on the council here talking about their district, and then we talk about the city as a whole. And they obviously have to be parochial because they have their own little areas that they got elected out of. But you got elected out of all of them. So what do you see as the major things that we can do, and what do you think we ought to do about them?
Bill, I don't see any problems that this city has. I see this city is on the rise and finally becoming what we've always wanted this city to be. Now we have to deal with the issues of growing. And those issues, in my opinion, are better careers that pay better wages.
Yes.
Infrastructure that is starting to come to its age limit. Transportation, and I know everybody talks about that, and then youth development. That was my platform when I was running with the word city, and used it as an acronym: careers, infrastructure, transportation,
Sure.
and youth development.
Let's look at each one of those individually, starting with the first one.
The first one, careers. We've got a wonderful base with our financial areas of town. We've got so many different types of careers, but we don't have that careers for the low-skilled, no-skilled labor force.
And that's becoming a real problem.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because with that, we have affordable housing issues. And if we had better careers that pay better wages, we wouldn't have affordable housing issues. We'd have people that would have the careers making $40,000 and above that could afford these houses.
But you still have to have people who aren't going to make $40,000, and something has to be done with them.
Correct.
I mean, let's face it, in our society today, folks, I have a lot of friends tell me, oh, they ought to go get a job. Well, where?
Well, and that's
doing what?
That's the point I'm trying to make. That if we have more, our port is number one. Our port is the number one place for that type of career, between the Teamsters, between importing, exporting, manufacturing, and assembling.
I never thought of the port that way. It's sort of like a huge factory, isn't it?
In my opinion, yes. And if we can get more companies to come in to provide these jobs, these careers, and we've got 40th Street corridor, which leads from USF all the way down to the port. You know, a young child that either can't afford to go to college or doesn't have the grades to go to college, looks to USF and says, I really can't get an education there, but then looks down toward the port and says, that's where I go.
Sure.
Because you can go to HCC and get yourself a welding certificate and go down to the port. There's many, many things that the city can help these young kids that don't know whether they can go to college or not.
Is there anywhere in the city that people can actually go if they're looking for work and saying, what are the opportunities? Where should I go? Are there any kind of career counselors or anything like that?
Well, I think HEC is a great start.
Okay.
I think that is a wonderful start. You can go there, and within 8 months, you can get a certificate to become a welder and get out starting at $60,000 a year. That's a great opportunity. Next is tampagov.net. There are plenty of jobs that may be available to our youth there.
Through the city?
Through the city.
I wasn't aware of that, so maybe we expand on tampagov.net.
There we go.
What would, if I were looking for a job or I were looking for training or things like that, how would I go in there and look for something?
Just browse through our website. There you'll find plenty of opportunities there.
You just have to be computer literate.
There you go.
In today's society. I'm looking at, I was in a McDonald's not long ago, and the young lady who was waiting on the line made a couple of mistakes. They weren't serious mistakes, they were making, and this one fellow was berating her and saying McDonald's ought to get rid of her. But, they are, unfortunately. We just walked into our Taco Bell recently, and in fact, when we were in Scotland, we went into a McDonald's, and the only way you could order was from this big machine that you had to order everything. What happens to all these people that are no longer going to be standing there, mistakes and all, if we don't do something about them? And that's where I think what you're standing for and what you're saying is so important. These people can't be left out.
No, they can't. And I'd like to help our youth before it gets to that point. Before it gets done, not everybody can go off and work for a conglomerate. Not everybody can work in the corporate business. So I'd like to help our youth before they have to make that decision. Well, the only opportunity is for me to work at Walmart or McDonald's. And I'm not downplaying the Castro Corporation or the Eas family, who are McDonald's owners. What I'm saying is there should be different routes once a child gets out of high school.
And maybe they go to McDonald's and they use what McDonald's does as far as college help. And
Could do that.
Walmart does give some college help also, is that correct?
That's correct.
And many companies, in fact,
Amazon is now one also is doing that.
I
Pay
got
for your
my
college.
degree with help from NCR, National Cash Register Company. If I passed the class, they paid for it.
Right.
Incentive to pass the class, by the way.
But one of the largest problems that I think the city of Tampa is facing is transportation. We've got over 150,000 people each and every day coming into our downtown core from places like Pinellas, Polk, Pasco, Hernando, Manatee, Sarasota counties. And if you don't believe me, look at I-4, 275, 75, Leroy Selman, veterans, and every, excuse my language, damn bridge that crosses the bay.
But in saying that, we're talking about the thing that holds back water, right?
Yes. And you'll see the traffic problem that the city of Tampa has.
Well, not long ago, in fact, just a week or two ago, I went down to the Veterans Court, which many of you don't even know exists. But I was told by somebody, leave home an hour and a half to get down there, parked, and into the building. And I live in Sun City, so I did, and they were right. I needed that hour and a half to get up and into town, get parked, and get into the building. And that's a long, people that have to do that every day, commuting into town.
Well,
and I guess that's not unheard of, that an hour and a half is, some people would beg for that amount of time. Some of them takes even longer.
First off, let me have a shout out to Judge Shanti, Andrew Warren, Julie Holt's office, to Colonel Reyes and his wife for the Veterans Court. They're doing a wonderful thing. It's like
fabulous.
It's leave no man or woman behind, and the things that they're doing to help with mental illness and problems that the veterans are facing. I put a shout out to them. We have FDOT, and I like the people down at FDOT, but that's Florida Department of Transportation, not Florida Department of Road Building. And there's got to be a way that we can have public or mass transportation. The idea is not one person in one vehicle. We need to give the option. If somebody wants to take a steel-wheeled, rubber-wheeled trolley or bus into the city of Tampa that live in the outlying areas, East Hillsborough County or Polk or Pasco County, they should have the choice to do so. We can build a lot of roads, but let's start simple. Let's put some sort of commuter rail or light rail from the airport to downtown. Let's start simple.
Okay.
And for each major intersection, West Shore, Lois, Dale Mabry, either MacDill or Howard Armenia, put an entrance there for people to get on this light rail, so that they can get a bus from that rail to go home. And underneath the interstate where this point is going to meet, you can have a florist or a small grocery store, or something where you can pick up something. So when you take the bus home, you won't have to get back into your car and go back out
somewhere
and pick
else,
up something.
Yeah.
Have developments at these overpasses or these points where you'll get off the train and go to the bus. We also have infrastructure.
Before you leave the airport, that's why we're here 20 years ago. I ran a seminar company, traveled all over the world doing seminars, and I looked all over Florida to where I could go that had a civilized airport, that I could get where I needed to go and get home in a reasonable amount of time. Tampa was it.
The great thing about our airport, and I'll steal a phrase, it's a front door airport. It's not where you change planes to connect to a different place. People are coming here or leaving here.
Very much so.
They're coming here for business. They're coming here for the beaches. They're coming here for conferences. They're coming here to go to Orlando. And that's what makes our airport so great.
And I want Joe Lopano on this show. Anybody that knows Joe can get him to come on. I have been a supporter for 20 years of this airport, and I just love what he's done with it.
I am a friend
force of effort.
I'm a friend of Janet Schimberg. So.
Well, if whoever you can get, I would love to have Joe on the program talking about the airport, because I think it is a jewel in all the United States. It's one of the very best airports.
Now, infrastructure. The mayor has a wonderful project.
I thought we were I was waiting to go back to I.
Yeah, infrastructure. Well, you know, with the pipes project, that's going to be a wonderful project.
Can we go back to transportation just for 1 second?
Heck no, we're on I now. Sure, let's go back to transportation.
When we went to Salt Lake City, well, as soon as we got to the city limits, all the transportation in Salt Lake is free. All the buses, the rapid transit, the whole thing is free. And I'm beginning to wonder if maybe there isn't some way that we ought to make the system we have, buses and otherwise, free.
I would love to be able to talk with our county commissioners and maybe let them see the light on that. But, you know, of course, they're the ones that control transportation.
Well, that's true. I mean, I understand the city doesn't, but you all have a bully pulpit.
Yes, we do. But I'm using mine for some. I'm using mine for something different right now. I just got members of council. I wrote a letter to the Hillsborough County Legislative Delegation.
Okay. Yes.
And I wanted to see if there was a way that we could stop the preemption by the state of Florida.
The preemption of what?
The city of Tampa came up with one of the most comprehensive, legally binding and environmentally binding tree codes. And the state has preempted that.
Yes.
Says that our thoughts and our ideas are better. And we also have that the last council passed with the state of Florida is where grow houses and dispensaries are going to go. And right now, and I won't mention the company's name, there's one in East Tampa on 22nd Street. It's in a neighborhood. Now, I'm not going to tell someone to smoke marijuana or not smoke marijuana. That I would be a hypocrite because of what I did in my past if I told somebody you can't smoke marijuana.
Yeah, most of us won't sign on to that.
Well, you know,
without being a hypocrite.
I'm honest, and I could not see putting these dispensaries, because we all know that marijuana with recreational marijuana is going to become legal. We know
Sooner
that.
Or later.
You can see the writing on the wall. But I would prefer not to see it in residential areas. If you want to smoke marijuana, you can go to an industrial area where there is no rehab facilities right next to your dispensaries. Yeah. There's no schools.
Halfway houses or anything of that nature.
Right next to these dispensaries, next to these grow houses. But because the state of Florida has preempted cities, municipalities, and counties from stating where they can be, we can't do a thing about it. But it doesn't make sense.
You know, as far as I look at the Republican Party, and let's just say it, they have control of the legislatures, and they're all for states' rights and for local control. And there's something wrong there with that picture.
And I'll just say this. Legislation in Tallahassee looks at Washington, D.C. and says, please, don't tell us how to run our state. You have somebody from Utah or from Alaska or from California telling Florida, well, Tallahassee, you have somebody from the Panhandle or from Jacksonville or from Miami-Dade. What do you know about Tampa?
Right.
And that is my confusion. That's the reason why I had asked the city council members to band together to send this letter. Now, I'm hoping that the concerned citizens are going to jump on this bandwagon. Also, I'm hoping to work with the League of Cities, the Florida League of Cities, because I know there are other cities and municipalities that are trying to fight this preemption.
What can citizens do for you? Can you define the fight and what they can do for you for the fight?
I'll define the fight for you. Okay. My hands are not tied.
Okay.
It's the citizens' hands that are tied.
Okay.
Because the citizens can come to me and say, Councilman, we don't want this rule from the state on tree ordinances. We have one that's fine right now. Leave ours alone. Councilman, we don't want that grow house or that dispensary right next to a rehab facility or right down the street from our school.
So they should write to their state senator or state representative?
So that's what I'm saying. I say to them, I would like to help you more, but I'm being preempted what I would like for you to do is to write your senators, write your state legislators, and tell them how you feel. Leave the codes and ordinances the city of Tampa has alone. Stop preempting them.
Well, I think that's a reasonable thing to ask people to do, except for if you walk out on the street, 90% of the people can't tell you who their state legislator is.
No, they probably can't, or they probably aren't aware of these issues. But there's other things involved too. Like, I don't want to say the company's name, Airbnb. I will talk about the extended stay facilities.
Right.
You know, you put them in a community where it's a nice, lazy, sleepy little area, and now you've got party houses where people come in. No, let's hope that we can change that so that they have to be mandatory rented out for a week.
Yeah, you know,
instead of one night.
We're seeing that out in Sun City Center even. Here we have a retirement community, and people who aren't retirement age are still renting a house overnight or for 2 days or whatever. And they shouldn't even be there.
Well,
but they're getting away with it because the state's allowing it. And yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of things that people should stand up to. Now, we've got the why we haven't covered yet, or if we got more in the infrastructure.
We can get to that, but again, the mayor's infrastructure with the pipes project is going to be great. We've got pipes in our city. Some of them are 100, 105 years old.
Has Charlie got a big grin on his face?
Well,
we're doing something finally?
I won't speak for Councilman Miranda. I can't. He's a fantastic man. I sit next to him.
I love him.
On council.
Mary's his legislative aide, and she is just dynamite.
Who Charlie says is the boss, but yeah. I have learned so much sitting next to Councilman Miranda. He is a brilliant man. And I'm just happy that I was able to get to sit next to him and take some coaching from him. He's on top of things and has been around for a long time. Yes, he does.
I mean, he cares about this city. Mm-hmm. This is his home. Yeah. Even during the times when he's been sick and the doctors are telling him to lay off, he doesn't. He just goes forward.
And our mayor has had the cohesiveness between the council, the administration, and between the administration and Board of County Commissioners. And I think with us all working together, Tampa is going to be that place where people want to come and they want to live and businesses.
Shining light on the hill.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't understand why more Fortune 500 companies, more big corporations don't base their headquarters within the city limits of Tampa. We've got the best weather year-round, We've got a workforce second to none. We've got 2 great colleges, 3 now that St. Leo is here, to draw the talent from. No state income tax. I just don't understand why more corporations are not coming here.
I think you hit it on your T.
Well,
the transportation. If I'm going to draw the best talent and I'm going to build downtown Tampa, my talent's going to look at me and say, I don't like that traffic. Can you
come live in downtown Tampa.
Send somebody out here to get me.
If I'm 26, 27, 28 years old, just graduated high school, college, and looking at a career opportunity that's going to pay a great wage with benefits, and it's downtown, what do I need transportation for? I can live, work, and eat and play, entertainment, the arts.
Go to Seattle.
Hockey
and
games.
For that.
No.
Seattle.
Shame on you.
No, I'm saying for housing for it. Seattle has done a really good job of building these buildings where the young people live. It's almost like I equate it to a beehive. The rents are reasonable. They have super high-speed Wi-Fi for the whole building. And it's just really a studio apartment for all practical purposes.
Well,
and they get a free bus pass, talking about transportation, they get a free pass to all transportation in Seattle living there, which is a pretty cool deal. We could do that here.
We can, and I believe that Vinnick is going to be bringing 3,000 new residences here in the city of Tampa, whether they be condominium, apartment, or 5-star hotels. And I think that's going to be a springboard for other developers to come here. Now we just have to work out the logistics about parking for those. Because again, as I said, if I'm a 26, 27-year-old, I'm not going to own a car.
Well, this is my friend that we went up to his place in Seattle. He doesn't own a car. Didn't need one. He can walk out the front door, get on a bus, take that bus and go. But we got about 4 minutes left, and I don't want to lose the why.
The why.
So let's go to the why.
The youth development, Parks and Recreation. The mayor has also started out a master plan for Parks and Recreation. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get youth development in there, whether it be in tech, so they can write code, whether it be it's in the arts, ballet, dancing, music. I just want to see us give more opportunities to the youth after school, and of course during the summertime.
Well, it costs us a fortune to incarcerate somebody. And our mayor looks at that because she's been involved with law enforcement forever. She knows the problems there. And working with the council as she is, it seems to me that your why should go a long way.
Should be. And I made this point at the last Parks and Recreation, the meetings that they've been having around the community. And I said, why don't we have free Wi-Fi at the parks?
Yeah.
Not only inside, but outside. The idea is to get people out of the houses and into the parks. Now, some people are elderly and want to walk around the park, but they still want to be able to communicate with their friends or with their family over their iPhones or whatever.
Sure.
And they don't have this great digital plan. Kids, if you're not going to get them off their iPads,
Get them out in the fresh air.
get them out of Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes,
with
sir.
you, because there are so many times, and people think of the Wi-Fi and that being a kid thing.
Oh.
No, I was sitting in a waiting room at the VA, and there were probably 15 people my age, and I'm in my 70s, almost hitting 80. All right? And everybody had their phone out while they were sitting there waiting because VA got Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And so we're not talking about just kids anymore.
No. It's become universal. No age barrier in that anymore.
Joseph Citro, at large, City of Tampa Council, will you come back?
I would love to be on your show again.
I've got more things I want to ask you, but we're just flat running out of time.
All right.
I'd like to give you 1 minute to thank the people who supported you and to assure those that didn't that you're still going to take care of them too.
I've only been in office since May 1st, and I've been having the time of my life. I want to thank the people that did support me, but also I want to thank the people that didn't support me and didn't vote for me, because I'm here to work for you. And this is an old statement, but my door is always open. I have a wonderful brand new legislative aide, Tim Heberlein, who is working together with me. We are partners, and he will schedule you time. You want to come down and talk to me? Please feel free to call my number or to schedule an appointment with me. I look forward to being your District 1 councilman for the next 3.5 years. Thank you very much for having me. I do appreciate your time.
Councilman Citro, thank you so much for being on the show. We do appreciate it, and we look forward to you coming back and being with us on Spotlight on Government. We'll see you on the next one. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often, because you are, you know. And again, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.